The palace of Zathra Prime trembled as the alien queen roared in fury. Her voice echoed through every corridor and chamber like thunder, striking the stars. Guards rushed in fear as the queen stood tall upon her throne, her glowing emerald eyes blazing with rage. The twin sons of the queen had vanished without a trace. The entire empire searched the halls, the gardens, and even the skies, but no one could find the royal heirs. The queen was a being of power and pride, for people worshipped her as the mother of galaxies, the keeper of the sacred flame. Yet in that moment, she was not a goddess. She was a mother in pain. Her claws clenched, and her breath came sharp as she shouted at her guards to keep searching. The palace lights dimmed under the weight of her sorrow. Outside the palace, the city glittered beneath the twin suns. Hovercrafts hummed through the air, carrying soldiers and seekers on their mission. No one dared return without news, for the queen was known to punish failure harshly. Hours passed, and her anger turned to despair. She walked to the nursery where her sons once slept. The small beds were empty, their tiny blankets untouched. A faint trace of warmth still lingered on the pillows, reminding her of the gentle laughter she had heard just that morning. Suddenly, the palace sensors detected a faint energy, reading from beyond the lower sectors of the city. The signal came from a human territory near the industrial quarter. A search team was sent at once, guided by the queen herself, who rode in a hover chariot glowing with violet fire. As they reached the old storage bay, the guards pushed open a heavy metal door. Inside, the air was quiet, except for the sound of soft breathing. There, on the floor, near a pile of broken machinery, lay a human janitor. His uniform was dusty, his tools scattered beside him. But what stunned everyone was the sight on his chest. The two missing alien princes were curled up against him, sleeping peacefully, as if the whole universe was a cradle. The queen stood frozen, her fury melting into disbelief. The human had not harmed them. In fact, the little ones clung to him as if they trusted him completely. The queen felt something stir within her heart, something she had not felt in centuries. It was not anger now, but wonder. Who was this human, and how had her sons found comfort in his arms? The alien queen stepped closer, her sharp talons glinting under the cold blue lights. The guards aimed their plasma rifles at the human, ready to strike if he moved, but the queen raised her hand to stop them. Something in the peaceful scene made her hesitate. Her sons, the royal twins of Zathra Prime, were breathing softly, wrapped in the warmth of a simple human's chest. Their faces, usually restless and curious, now looked calm and safe. The human slowly opened his eyes as the light from the queen's armor shone on his face. He blinked in confusion, unaware of the royal soldiers around him. Then he noticed the two small alien children asleep on him. He did not panic. Instead, he smiled faintly and whispered something gentle, though no one understood his words. The queen watched every movement carefully. This fragile creature of flesh and bone had done what no alien nurse or warrior could do. He had soothed the royal heirs to sleep. One of the guards moved forward, but the queen stopped him again. She ordered everyone to stay silent. Her voice, though soft now, carried the weight of command. She wanted to know how this human came to be here. The janitor bowed his head respectfully. He explained through the translator that he worked in the lower maintenance sector. The twins had wandered away through the service tunnels and found him while he was repairing a coolant pipe. They had been frightened, so he gave them his blanket and told them stories until they fell asleep. The queen listened without interrupting. The image of her children resting in his arms would not leave her mind. Her heart, once hardened by war and power, began to soften. She stepped forward and gently lifted one of the twins, who stirred but did not cry. The other child held tighter to the human's uniform, refusing to let go. The queen's eyes widened. Even her own children were not afraid of this human. For the first time in many years, the mighty queen felt uncertain. How could such a simple being hold such power over her children's hearts? The human's calmness seemed to reach even her. She asked his name, and he replied softly, saying he was called Daniel, the night janitor. The queen looked at him in silence for a long moment. Then, she gave a quiet order to her guards to stand down. She decided that this human would come to the palace. She wanted to understand what made him different. The fate of the alien queen and her empire was about to change forever. The human named Daniel stood in the grand hall of the palace, surrounded by guards and ministers. The air shimmered with golden light from the twin suns above. The alien queen sat upon her massive throne, her eyes glowing with curiosity rather than fury. Her sons played beside her, laughing as they tried to mimic the human's gestures. It was the first time the palace had heard such pure joy in centuries. The courtiers whispered among themselves. Never before had a human been allowed inside the royal chambers. Many believed the queen would punish him for touching the royal heirs, but instead, she had summoned him as an honored guest. When she spoke, her voice was calm, yet filled with power. She asked Daniel how he had earned the trust of her sons, when even her royal caretakers had failed. Daniel answered with humble honesty. He said that he had treated them not as princes or alien beings, but simply as children who were lost and scared. He gave them comfort, because that was what any heart should do. His words were simple, yet they struck the queen deeply. She had ruled with fear for so long that she had forgotten the warmth of kindness. As days passed, Daniel remained in the palace to care for the twins. The queen often watched from afar as he taught them to draw with bits of chalk, to build small towers from stones, and to laugh freely. Something began to change in her empire. The servants smiled more. The guards stood taller, but softer in spirit. It was as if Daniel's quiet goodness had touched every corner of Zathra Prime. One evening, as the sun set behind the crystal towers, the queen approached Daniel in the royal garden. Her voice was softer than ever before. She thanked him, not only for saving her sons, but for reminding her what true strength was. It was not the power of fear or command, but the courage to care for others even when they are different. The twins ran to their mother and hugged both her and Daniel together. For the first time, the queen smiled a real, warm smile that reached her glowing eyes. She declared before her court that from that day forward, humans would no longer be seen as lesser beings. They would be honored as allies of the royal house. And so, the tale of the human janitor who tamed the heart of an alien queen became legend across the stars, a story whispered on every world of how compassion could bridge even the greatest divide.